What is happening, beautiful people?
We are Silky and Kieran, and over the past 3 years we've been traveling full-time around Asia, seeing some of the most amazing places, meeting some of the most friendly people, and having experience that money cannot buy.
And we did that all on a budget of under $8 a day. And today we're going to share with you exactly how we did it.
And here are our top 8 tips to traveling on a budget but having the most unique experiences.
And make sure to stick around for number 8 because we think that's one of the most important but also one of the most overlooked. Number 1 happens before you even set foot on the road, and that is savings. You're going to want to try and save as much as possible before setting out on this epic adventure, and for us, we set ourselves a goal of saving €6,000. For some people that could be a lot of money, for others not a lot, but for 2 people to travel the world for a full year, we thought that was pretty achievable.
You will have to make some sacrifices though, for example going to fancy restaurants, going out for drinks, for coffees, going out for parties. All these things add up. Another thing which we did was staying with parents, which saves so much money.
If it's possible, guys, I know that it's not ideal, but actually for us,
we love it.
We loved it. You know, we love spending time with our parents, and it was a really great way for us to save some money and spend some quality time with our parents before we head out on that crazy adventure. So during that saving period, you're going to want to work as much as possible. Just remember that end goal is going to be this incredible adventure. So whether that's taking on 1, 2, 3 jobs, as many as you can. And remember, it's only temporary. We worked for around about a year together after making the decision to go travel. So, you know, if you think about sacrificing that year to just go hard, you will have a really nice savings account to support you while you're on your epic adventure.
Number 2. Flights. And we're not only talking about the flights going to where you want to go, but just flights in general, because these are the biggest cost while traveling.
Yep, and we try to take the least amount possible, not only for the environment, but also for those hard-earned pennies. I think in 3 years we took around 8 flights.
If you know where you want to go to, make sure to double check when is the cheapest flight, from where. Sometimes you just have to take a bus to another country and then from there is your flight. When you're deciding which country to fly to, always take into consideration the land borders. So for example, we flew to Thailand and we knew that from Thailand we could get to Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand again, Malaysia, Indonesia. All by land borders.
Yeah, it's such a sensible decision to go somewhere where you can just take the least amount of flights possible. We have heard of people flying from Bangkok to Vietnam or into Cambodia, and for us, we find it completely unnecessary. We love to just take a long bus journey and travel through all the cities and villages on the way to that next country, and there's more adventure within that journey itself. You've taken your flight, arrived in your country, and that brings us to number 3. How are you going to get around?
Transport.
Don't take taxis.
Don't, especially not from the airport.
So instead of jumping in that taxi, always opt for the local buses. You can take a tourist bus with AC or massage seats and stuff like that. We find that you really lose an aspect of the adventure. We've had so many beautiful experiences meeting the local people on the local buses.
Another way that we travel though, and that's the biggest way we recommend, is hitchhiking. And this is not only for the budget. I know it cuts the budget like crazy, but the experiences that we get from hitchhiking are just incredible. We've stayed with locals in their house, we've been taken to random villages, and it's just...
If you're on a tourist bus, you're going from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, and although that's an amazing journey and those are 2 amazing places, you miss out so much in between. Who knows, you could end up with a really magical local experience where you can not only see some beautiful places but learn so much, and we think that's such a wonderful experience. Okay, hitchhiking does come with some constraints because you don't have the freedom to choose where you want to go, when you want to go.
And sometimes it takes hours to get a ride.
After almost 2 hours.
And it's hard and sweaty and
so,
rainy.
Something that we really love to do is to rent our own form of transport, whether it's a bike or a tuk-tuk. We love doing that. And that brings us to today's sponsor, which is the International Drivers Association. I want to give a little bit of a backstory on how we found these guys. We were in Indonesia, we wanted to rent a motorbike, and the guy not only asked for my driver's license, but he asked for my international driver's permit, and I did not have one. So I said to him, look, give me 5 minutes to do some research. And I did not think that 5 minutes later I would be walking back to him with an international driver's permit. It is crazy, but after a couple of minutes of research, I filled in all of my details and they sent over a digital copy of this, and I could drive in Indonesia.
Also, they send out a physical copy. It's not necessary to have with you, but it's always a good thing to have.
I always just keep mine in the backpack.
What we love about the international driving permit is that it allows us to drive in over 150 countries.
When Silky says us, me. She doesn't have a license. And the way that ties into budget is because we have heard so many horror stories of people getting fines because they do not have an international driver's permit.
It gives us peace of mind.
Yeah.
You can see the police be like, hello.
We just roll past and flash it like this.
They see me rolling.
This thing comes in super handy whenever you're passing through police checkpoints, if you need proof of a valid driver's license, when you're renting motorbikes or cars, and it can also help when getting rental insurance just to have your international driver's permit.
So before you embark on your next big adventure, make sure to check out the International Drivers Association through the link in our description.
And use code SilkyRonTheRoad10 for a nice little discount. Huge thank you to the International Drivers Association for sponsoring this video.
Now, next tip, accommodation. Be prepared to sleep in a hostel.
You get an electric shock from this thing. No word of a lie. When you touch, I'm scared to touch it now. So I need to touch the thing. I need to touch the thing.
You have to touch the tap?
I have to touch the tap.
How can there be electricity on the tap? There is electricity on the tap. That's crazy, no? No, that's not true. Kinda.
It kinda is true. So we always search for the most budget accommodation.
We always use websites like booking.com or Agoda just to scope out like the cheapest places.
So get that filter set to under $10 and sort by cheapest first, because you can find some real hidden gems, and by gems I mean hidden rocks.
If you're solo traveling, the best might be to check out a hostel, but if you're two people, it might be better to share a room because it usually comes out cheaper than having two beds in a hostel. Another thing which we do is we just rock up to a place, we ask local people, hi, do you know if there's any guest house around, like affordable? And then they'll probably have like a nephew or an uncle and they'll be like, oh yeah, you can sleep there. And it's usually more affordable than checking online.
Something that you've got to be prepared for is to walk. We usually spend a lot of time walking to find the best options for accommodation. Maybe that means checking 10 different places to stay, and maybe the first one was the cheapest and you've got to walk all the way back. But it's something that we do, and we do it because every penny counts. Like that $10 accommodation compared to the $8 accommodation, it can be a big difference. And you've got to remember also that you're only sleeping here. Your aim is not to be spending hundreds of dollars on a nice hotel, because the real adventure is outside, and all the things that you're actually in the country to see. You're not there to see the hotels. You're there. I mean, maybe that's your type of travel, but usually we're there to go and chase the waterfalls and do the amazing hikes and stuff like that. So we spend the least amount of money on accommodation so that we can just spend that money on the amazing things, like the Taj Mahal or
The Borobudur.
yeah, like the amazing things that are to see in the country.
We sometimes do stay in the most luxurious, beautiful hotels, but they cost us less than the normal hotel we would stay in.
Okay, so I can hear all of you guys right now saying, oh, you're influencers, all this thing. But the thing is, we really believe that anybody can do this if you use your passions, and that is the next thing. Use your passions to travel. We are super, super passionate photographers, and that meant that we were taking photographs everywhere we go. And why not use that to our advantage? That is what led to us essentially starting our Instagram page and now starting this YouTube journey and sharing our experiences. Naturally, hotels want to get involved, so they say, can you come and stay for a few nights and we'll give you your food and all that stuff. If you could just tell people about your experience at this hotel, and we found that we can stay in some of the most incredible places.
So yeah guys, use your passions, and this is something different for every single person. We are really passionate about playing music, which means that we can play music in bars and restaurants.
We've met people who paint murals in hostels, and you know, you really can use whatever you're passionate about. Maybe you're a carpenter, maybe you're a painter, maybe you're a musician, photographer, videographer, or maybe you just want to get started. Maybe you make a small investment into a camera and start taking photographs. It could be your thing, and we really tell everyone to give this a shot, because I think it's a beautiful thing to capture and share your adventure. And if you can get yourself some free stays in some beautiful places whilst doing that, why not?
If you don't think you can take your passions on the road for whatever reasons, there's always volunteering. We volunteered for 2 months in an elephant sanctuary where we had the most amazing experience, learning everything about the elephants without having to spend a penny. We also stayed in a yoga retreat, and all of this is so possible.
I mean, the way that we found these volunteering opportunities was only by talking to other travelers or just people we met, and it led to incredibly magical experiences. So keep your eyes peeled and ears open for any volunteering opportunities because yeah, these can be amazing things that transform your travel. Number 6 is food, and we are big foodies.
If you've seen our vlog, you know what we're talking about.
Food can tell you so much about the country that you're visiting, and that's why we think that it's so important to go where the locals go.
Don't go to India to eat pizza. Don't go to Italy to eat dal bhat. You know, it just doesn't work.
No, you've got to eat what the locals eat, and it's also going to be the tastiest and most local, authentic food that you can find. Another tip is to spend your first few days after you arrive in each country getting to know what the local prices are and what the local foods are. So for example, we found out when we arrived in Indonesia, one of the most local dishes you can find is nasi pecel. We found out the price, and we knew that when we went to a restaurant, if they were asking like crazy high prices, we said, okay, we're in the wrong place. And you know, most of the time when you're eating with locals, they're gonna give you a really fair, honest price, and you don't end up overspending on your meals.
Oh, and always make sure to ask the prices first. The last thing I want to say when we're talking about food is alcohol. So many people travel and have every night a beer or two, and that adds up.
Yeah, I know it's super cheap to buy a beer, but like Silky says, it does add up if you're doing it every night, and it's like, oh, it's only 20 cents, so you maybe have 5 beers. It all adds up. Plus, it's not the greatest for the health, so we actually don't drink any alcohol, and that's not due to budget, it's because we don't really like the taste. Maybe we're lucky in that aspect, but just cut the alcohol, guys. It's not worth it. It's hard to adventure with a hangover as well.
Tip number 7 is maximize your visa. So you'll find when you enter a country, they'll give you a certain amount of visa stay, which is for example 1 month up to 3 months. And what we do is when we enter a country, we try and use the maximum visa stay, because why would you leave the country before, spend another amount of money on the next visa, and then blah, blah, blah.
And also, the more time that you spend in each country, the more you get to know it. I understand some people are on a tight time schedule, but if you can spend 3 months in Thailand getting to know the culture, you're going to learn so much more than spending 3 weeks in the country and just dotting from tourist location to tourist location. And also, make sure to do your research. We found that Malaysia was visa free for us because we're from Belgium and Scotland, so we were able to spend 3 months in Malaysia without a visa. And those countries may be different for you, but there may be countries that you can travel to without a visa, and that's obviously going to cut one of the costs. We found that when you stay for longer, you have time to not only do the touristy things, but to go to the small villages and meet the real people, because as much as the temples in Bangkok are a huge part of Thai culture, the real Thai people are the people that you meet either in the streets of Bangkok or in the tiny little villages, and it takes time to find those places, those streets, those magical little corners. And you know, when you dedicate that time to finding them, you will have such a rich experience, and money just can't pay for that.
And finally, on to number 8, which we think is the most important tip of this video.
Yep. Be open.
Yeah, make sure to just talk to people. Also learn a little bit of the language, because locals really appreciate it if we can be like, Sawadika, Sawadimaka. Oh, I like mak, which means food is amazing.
Yeah, the smiles on their faces when you're trying to learn their language, when you're eating the food that they're eating, you know, you try the super spicy things, they're like, what? I think it's such a beautiful and invaluable experience.
Try everything. Try the beetle nut. Get lost in a place you don't know.
Yeah, the locals sometimes have some of the best recommendations. So, you know, if you're in a small town and they say you should go to this waterfall, go to the waterfall.
We found an amazing hot spring in the middle of nowhere.
Where?
Just by asking people. Sri Lanka.
Oh my god. Oh, that was magical. Yep. And it's just one of the things, you take that wrong turn, you follow that local person because they say, oh, down here's good food, and we have honestly had some of the most magical experiences from doing just that, just being open to
life. Say yes, say yes. They ask you,
you want to eat this?
Yes, I want to eat this. You want to follow me down this dark alleyway?
So don't follow them down the dark alleyway.
Don't follow them down the dark alleyway.
No.
Maybe not.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
But be yes people.
Yeah.
But be sensible.
Anyway, guys, it's just all about saying yes to life, to people, being open, and you will have the most amazing experience you cannot even dream of.
Yep. And all of that can be done on under $8 a day. We promise you, because that is exactly how we traveled. And you know, here, look at this.
those were our 8 tips for traveling on a budget. If you have any more tips, make sure to mention it below in the comments because we would love to hear.
And if you want to follow our adventures, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell.
All that good stuff. And happy travels!